So, thanks for staying with us. And if you're just joining us, we're talking about the rising food prices in Nigeria and food security. High levels of conflict in the Northeast is limiting agricultural labor activities, as well as the ongoing dry season harvest and the household purchasing power. This is driving us crazy, and it's on the increase in the population facing food crisis. Well, today we'll be talking to a farmer, like we said earlier, Oluwatosin Ariyo, who is an international model turned farmer and agripreneur with a first degree in economics from the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. She is CEO of Farm Fresh Grocery, an agribusiness that inspires clients to eat healthy through their innovative infusions. Yeah, she's also an alumni of Forbes Accelerator Nigeria and Enterprise Development Center alumni.
Wow.
It gives me singular honor to have done that rundown of our guests for
you did
today.
it very well. And she's a charming young lady.
Yes.
Thank you so much for finding time to join us on the show this morning to talk to us about food crisis and probably way forward. How do we go around it? So my first question as an opener, tell us what you understand by food insufficiency. Is it not enough food, or is it too much food not going through the channels? What is it?
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Well, it's a bit of both because they are intertwined.
Okay.
Food insufficiency and food insecurity are intertwined.
Okay.
So it's just like an extension of one. So it's more of the food insufficiency is not as extreme as insecurity, because when you talk about availability of food, but people are still not able to access them in some ways, then you're talking about food insecurity. But for food insufficiency, it means for some reason something has affected the supply of food. And some of the reasons, some of the causes for this so far is the unrest in some areas in the country. So it has affected farmers from going to the farm. And planting is seasonal, and it has to do with timing. You have to be at the farm. You have to plant at a specific period of time when you expect things to grow at a particular time. Okay. So when you miss that deadline, especially with the kind of weather we have been having, so it's basically like a disruption in the process of food supply as a result of insecurity in the farms, as well as the weather, lack of rain. We haven't had good weather for a while now, so it has also affected, because normally by now we would have had a lot of maize available already, and so many other crops that are supposed to be ready at this time. But you find out that things are a bit delayed, especially for farmers. I know, like earlier in the year, when the kidnapping and everything was really high, a lot of farmers couldn't go to the farm, so we couldn't get things from the north, for instance. So we had to depend on people in the other areas planting the little they can.
Okay.
So there's no way it will affect the supply. So that's the cause of the food insufficiency.
Okay. All right. Thank you. But you see, I find it a little torturous, wrapping my head around how a country so blessed with agricultural produce and even the mouths to receive them being tagged as lacking in the provision of food. Do I sense a bit of laxity in the management?
Truly, Nigeria is really blessed in terms of arable land, and we also have good weather, and but the problem for me is that we don't treat farming as a business in Nigeria. We still just treat it like the traditional way of just plants and expect. You have the biggest investment that Dutch has. They are in African countries where they can plant they don't have the land, but they are investing in Ghana and some Eastern African countries to plant, so that whatever they can process from what they plant is generates a lot of funds for them, a lot of income for the country. So but Nigeria is not treating agriculture as business, just treating it as plant and eat. And agriculture is more than that, is way more than that. We need to treat it as serious business. There are some periods that you have, we also have the issue of food wastage, because like 60% of everything we plant, more than 60% of everything we plant every year goes to waste. And until we sit down and strategically think about how are we going to, what do we need to put in place to take advantage of what we have been blessed with, it's still going to be the same story we keep talking about. It's going to be the same story until we strategically plan. But okay, this is abundant. We have this abundant for so period. How do we extend this to the other period when they are not available through processing and other ways? We need to look at mechanized way of farming. We have all this land. Okay, for instance, there was a place I visited once. I was actually planting there in Ogun State. Is the old cocoa palm plantation, and then there are like hundreds of hectares of land just there. The cocoa, nobody is doing anything about the land. And then so they decided people should come and lease the land and plant things, but there's no security. I actually leased like 20 hectares from there, and then decided to start with just 4. I planted cassava, and then I didn't take one pin out of there because herdsmen came there and took over the whole place. They harvested all my cassava, not one pin. And this is the land that was leased from the government. So even if the government cannot protect us from herdsmen, it will always affect what we are doing. Because imagine if I had harvested that 4 hectares, it would have inspired me to, go on to plow the rest of the 16 hectares I had leased. And imagine that quantity of cassava, 20 hectares of cassava. Will it not prevent some of the problems we are having with shortages right now?
Yeah.
We have the land, massive arable land spaces that are not being, managed or even used.
Yeah.
So the government has a lot to do, in terms of that.
Yes.
Well,
enabling environment.
Unfortunately, I come from the part of the country that's referred to as a food basket. And unfortunately, if you go to Benue right now, nobody's in the farms. Nobody is farming, just very few people. And the farm is just subsistent, just to be able to feed themselves, nothing to sell. And the young men and the young ladies out there have turned around to selling their farmlands.
Wow.
Yes, they are selling their farmlands, and they are making loads of money because companies are coming to acquire the farmlands.
Yes.
And it's so critical. Sometimes when I think about it, I think about the far-fetched effects tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's hard enough the way it is now. But at some point they tell us the country needs to diversify, take the attention from oil and agriculture. And a lot of young people went into farming, tried to go into farming. At some point, government was giving fertilizers and all of that. And then the insecurity matter is here. Do we have any leeway? Is there a way around this, this insecurity thing? Because food is definitely a basic need. How could we possibly circumvent this? How do we go around it, this insecurity thing, so that we can ensure that we have food? Is there something that can be done?
I think the government, basically, the government is responsible for, protecting its citizens. So they need to be more proactive in their plan of how they can protect, farms and farmers and their properties, so that when you invest, you can see the reward of what you're doing. They need to be more proactive. They need to look for ways to tackle this, and not just keep waiting that things will get better. It's not just going to get better without them taking strict decisions on what on how to prevent, insecurity in the farms.
So
I
what you're
just think we
saying
need to know
is
that.
that the farmers are helpless. There's practically
are.
not much that the farmers can do themselves. Like
Nothing.
take this war, do something on their own. If government is not coming through to help, can the farmers who are investing their hard-earned monies find a way around it?
Well, when we're talking of farmers now, there are a lot of smallholder farmers who are just like young people, old people, well-done people, just planting beets on their own. They don't have the capacity to protect themselves a lot of the time. That's why instead of risking their life, they'll just stay home and not plant anything.
Wow.
So if we want them to return to the farm, then the government of each of the states, if not, if the federal is not doing something, at least the state government should take a stand and see how they can protect their farmers.
Okay.
At least it's their duty to make sure that people can move freely to their farm without fear of being kidnapped or killed at their farms. So I still think it's their responsibility. They need to look into how to tackle this insecurity issue.
Yeah.
Because it's okay for some farmers like us who have their own fenced properties, maybe not where the unrest is happening, but what about people in those areas? They're just smallholder farmers. They can't do much on their own. They still need the help of the government to ensure there's safety in the farms.
Now, Tosin, it's possible that we really don't appreciate what we have. Maybe we don't know the magnitude of what we have in this country. You see, because there are different regions with different offerings in terms of crops and other food items. Now, could you please paint us a picture of how blessed we are as a nation?
No, we're highly blessed. Like in the southwest, we have the largest producers of cassava, of plantain, and a lot of these are exported abroad, apart from feeding the whole of the nation. In the south, in the Middle East, we have Benue producing like massive quantities of yam, as well as fruits such as mangoes and orange in very large quantities. In the north, we have the rice, being produced. A whole lot of our cash crops are produced in the north, like rice. Then in the west, we also have cocoa. We have the arable land available in Nigeria is about 35 million hectares, and we're not even using most of it. But we are actually highly blessed. But the problem is that over 60% of what is being produced yearly, over 60% goes to waste.
Wow.
Over 60% goes to waste because we don't have proper storage systems. We have bad roads. Okay, I can give you an example. Recently, there's some exotic foods that are grown in the Jos that are not grown anywhere else, only in the Jos and maybe Kaduna. And I had this young lady harvest mulberries from Jos, and she was sending it to Lagos. 20 kg of mulberries, and all these fruits are very delicate. You can imagine these are things that we normally just buy the imported ones. Now somebody has taken time to grow these things in Jos so that we can have them. She sends them. She's not even sending by road, because if you send by road, they won't survive.
Yeah.
They will get spoiled before they get to Lagos. Now she's sending by air. She went to the airport in Jos, and it was, the flight was cancelled. Went to Abuja by road to go and deliver this. Got to Abuja, and then the thing eventually got to Lagos at about past 10, and they said they cannot offload till tomorrow.
Oh dear.
Everything got spoiled.
No way.
Everything. So it's not, we are blessed with a lot, but because there's no storage, the channels for distributing are not, strong enough. Like, we need massive investment in this area so that we can take advantage of what we are blessed with.
Yeah.
A lot of countries don't even have They don't even have the things that we grow here. They don't have, enough space to grow all these things. And, we have them in abundance, but the problem is the storage system. We don't have that. And until that is addressed, that's why I say Nigeria needs to take agribusiness. It's a business. Stop looking at it and just grow it and let us eat. No.
Yeah.
They can make a whole lot from this by, treating this as serious business.
Yeah.
Invest in storage system, invest in logistics, because the amount of wastage that, from the farmer up through all the distributors before it even gets to the consumer.
Yeah.
Even the ones that waste in the market, it's a whole lot. At the end of the day, what the customer is even eating is not as nutritious because of this delay in transit before it gets to the customers. So the government just needs to play their role,
Now,
at least there are people who have been interested in investing in these things, but there's no conducive environment for people who want to invest.
Because that's the next thing I wanted to look at. Now, we're talking government. What happens to the private sector? Especially when you talk about wastage, when you talk about preserving, having those windows for preservation. What happens to the private sector? Can't the private sector invest in this area? If you go to the market as we speak, plantain that usually will sell for 500 naira is going for 2,000 plus. And not a lot of people are buying. So you see them just rotting away. And the small sellers are there. Nobody's buying from them. And they have spent money to go buy. And I'm wondering, can we have some cooperatives? Can we have some private individuals who we know, are capable financially to go into these preservatives and help wastage of food stuff?
Okay. So like a lot of private people are actually trying, but the problem is that they are not enough. Okay, for instance, now look at me. For instance, I noticed that a lot of my customers, when they buy herbs and spices like turmeric, ginger, and stuff, they know the health benefits. They buy it, but they don't have time to start processing it. Some people just keep it in their cupboard and then afterward they throw it away. So I now decided to start infusing, herbs and spices into honey and into sea salt. Wow. So that, it's easy for you to just, take a spoon of like a ginger lemon honey and then put in whatever you're eating. Or maybe, but the challenge is that the processing, the equipment to make these things smooth and, for you to commercialize this kind of thing, you need to buy processing equipment. And then when you buy them, you don't find them here. When you import them, they're supposed to be, I think we're not supposed to pay tax on, what's the custom duties on agricultural, when you import agricultural equipment, you're not supposed to pay custom duties. But that's not true in reality, we pay. Wow. So when and then it's not just even the paying, sometimes they're just delayed. I know a lot of people who have imported tractors and things like that are just sitting and they've not been able to receive them. So like a regular person who is investing their money, they want to see where their money is going to. Yeah. So you don't want to just invest your money and then you can't see anything from it. So what I mean is that when private people decide to invest in any stage of the agricultural business, there should be a conducive environment to support what they are doing. But when they don't have, they get frustrated and they leave. For instance, like recently, we had the ASF, African swine fever, affect, our animals in Nigeria, pigs. It's a swine fever, African swine fever. And a lot of farmers who had invested millions, they lost so much. Yeah. Nothing, no support from them. Some people lost their lives because they had, high blood pressure, which eventually led to their death. From Okearo to Berigbe Farm, all across. And it was a massive loss. So I know a lot of people who have left, pig farming because of that. I know people who lost 30 million. So you can't say you want to invest and then you are losing so much money and then the government is not even, they say youth should go into agri. Okay, we have gone into it. How are you supporting us?
And you see, Tosin, I mean, to confirm what you just said, you see, we even feel the effect of this, you know, on the quality of what comes out, you know, because if you don't invest in it, the results will not be what is expected. I'll tell you, I was in Atlanta a few years ago, and I have a friend out there who does, you know, Nigerian food, quite a big business, not African food. And I found out that he was doing a lot of his imports from Ghana rather than Nigeria. Because he said, look, what happens is most times our products don't pass the test,
Standard.
you know, standards organizations test out there. So and once you have an error along the line, you know, your whole shipment may be returned. So I don't know why or for how long this is going to continue.
Do you have any comments? Have you had any experience here that some private farmers manage to send some crops out of Nigeria and they're rejected?
And they get returned, yeah.
Yes, because a lot of times, you know, like every normal business, people, you know, sometimes they don't get adequate information about the city or the part of the country they are sending things to. Most of the time, with the way some farmers, you know, they don't do their own work properly. So, for instance, there are some countries that they'll tell you that this is the percentage of whatever they need, you must have. Okay, like for instance, if you're exporting smoked fish, for instance, you're supposed to use, if you're sending to the US, I know you're supposed to use stainless steel dehydrator.
Okay. Some
people will use the local normal one that is not stainless steel. So once they test it, they will see it. So if you're importing, a lot of times we don't work from the back end to the front. You know, we start from the front, we finish processing before we now think of where we are sending the things to. But if you know, do it strategically, you know that this is what they want, this is what is required in this country. You work from that stand, with people who have exported to that country and find out, okay, these are the mistakes that I have made. Don't just rely on your own knowledge. You don't have it all. You know, it's always good to interact with your fellow entrepreneurs who are doing the same thing. Find out where their fingers have been burnt so that you can avoid doing the same.
Exactly. Okay.
You know, a lot of times we just work based on, I've done this is what is required. No, liaise with other people who have gone there before so that you avoid losing so much money. Because I know a lot of people who have, you know, tried to export maybe cashew, and at the end of the day, they have to sell to, you know, only Nigeria because they can't export it, and they have invested so much, you know. So a lot of times we just need to do our homework thoroughly, gain adequate knowledge about exports and what each country requires, their rules and their expectations before you start the process.
I guess you hit the nail on the head there when you talked about adequate information. The world has become a global village, and you can't just hide at your end here and think whatever happens here is just all right. You need to find out what standards, you know, what's acceptable in other parts of the country. Okay. Well, we still have a little more time to chat with you on this topic, but we'll take a break and allow you to take a drink of water, if possible, and then we'll be back shortly. It's Today with John and Helen, and we're looking at food security, food insufficiency, and it's a challenge right today, and we're trying to find out some solutions. Please don't go away.
So, this is Today with John and Helen, and we still have Tosin Ariyo with us. She's a farmer who is educating us on food security. So, Tosin, you're welcome back. Of course, government cannot do it alone. At least that's what we hear all of the time.
Yeah.
What should the private sector do? Yes, you touched on it a bit earlier on to at least help our cause.
Well, there are several ways that the public can support the government. they can invest in some of these areas where there are lapses. For instance, like the areas of logistics and storage, investing in warehouses, as well as distribute processing as well as processing. Those are areas that can help the agribusiness.
So you're
Because
looking,
there's low investment in those areas, and I think the public can actually support in those areas by investing in them.
so you're looking at engaging ourselves in every step of the value chain.
Yes, definitely.
Because from it, we will derive a lot, employment, whatever,
True.
improve on our on our sufficiency and all of that.
I'm wondering at this point that if I didn't study agriculture, for example, and not all of a sudden, obviously, there's a huge gap in that area. And more people have been encouraged to go into agriculture, irrespective of all of the challenges. If I didn't study agric, can I just wake up at some point? Like, for example, with you, how did you get interested in agriculture? And how are you able to make waves in this sector? Is there a school? Are there schools? Are there training opportunities available for people to just get all the information they need?
Yes, there's enough knowledge on agribusiness, but you have to do your part, going out of your way. Well, for me, when I started, I did, the government actually tries in that area. They provide trainings. And then we also have some international bodies that also provide trainings on agriculture. Because I went to, I benefited from Ogun State's trainings for farmers. I attended Farmers Business School. And I attended, a couple of programs organized by IITA and GIZ, which are structured to teach everybody, regardless, they even teach in Yoruba, depending on, the environment where they are teaching. So you don't have to be learned or anything. They teach you about, good agricultural practices, So the knowledge is, the trainings are available. So you just need to find out, from wherever you are. I'm sure there are a lot of associations that you can join to find out about farming. And then you also need to look for people like mentors, people who are already doing what you want to start. Don't just think you sit down in the house, read up on the internet, and then go and give your money to all these scammers that will tell you that don't even have a farm, but they're audio farmers. Wow. So you need to do your part. You need to do a lot of research. Find out about, trainings. There are a lot of trainings happening even Enterprise Development Center, they offer trainings, free trainings on agriculture. So you just need to open your eyes and do a lot of research,
Yeah. And you see, that response that you just gave, triggered something in my head. Now, I'm just thinking, couldn't we, specifically engage members of, say, the National Youth Service Corps in agric farming, rather than just letting them loose in areas that hardly benefits the nation?
Sure.
The NYSC?
That's an excellent question, really. I have a friend who did something like that, sometime in the past, partnered with NYSC.
Okay.
And what they did was the coppers are given space like maybe like an hectare or an acre of land, and then they are also given accommodation. They are giving laborers to work with them to plant, and whatever they plant there, they get some percentage, and then the government gets a little percentage as well. So that will inspire the desire, because these are young people who have all the energy. And it's something you there's no way you won't enjoy it. Not everybody likes the idea of teaching in some rural place, but this would engage them more. They can see how they are supporting and providing food for the country. So I think it's a good idea. They need to be more intentionally engaged.
Yeah.
Not just saying farmer, they should just teaching them about farming at the NYSC camp. No, give them the opportunity to practice. I even remember that when first time I went to the Akoje cocoa farm in Ogun State, that was I think it was created by Oluwatosin back then. Back then, when you graduate from university, they just give you the space. They give you the space while you are waiting to get employment. There's space for you to plant. So all those are the things we need to go back to. Give them, let everybody do their part in providing food security for the country.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm also concerned about interest rates, like for young farmers like you, to take off, to start well and to start big. You need some amount of money. Are the banks available to give loans? And how easy is it, to pay these loans? Are you expected to, to bring to the table collateral, for example? And interest rates, is financial assistance available from the banks and some financial organizations? Are they easily available?
Well, we keep hearing that they are available, but I don't think they are easily accessible, personally, because I remember I was part of one Anchor Borrowers program. And then when, we had gotten the land, we're supposed to pay for lease the land and then register with a particular microfinance bank. And then they'll give us money to start. And then when we were best to pay back. But then when it was time, they were like, they're waiting for the uptaker who will uptake the produce from us to sell, because they need guarantee for their money. And that was the end of it. We never saw the light of that, the investment.
Wow.
So a lot of times they keep saying there's Anchor Borrowers programs in place to provide funds. But the truth is, we never have access to those funds most of the time.
Wow.
Maybe people who have, high connects or something get it. But a lot of times, the smallholder farmers they never have access to those loans. We usually just start with whatever we have.
Yeah. So, Tosi, I must confess that you've been such an inspiration, to us.
Yes.
And but before we let you go, I would want to ask you something. Yeah. Please, could you tell us what are the steps required for John and Helen to engage in farming profitably?
Do I want to go into farming, John? Yeah, okay.
I like the word profitable.
Yes.
Because a lot of time, people just go into agriculture without adequate knowledge. They just feel it's not just to plant and wait for the thing to grow. But like every business, you have to do your due diligence.
Yes.
There are a lot of scammers, even people that you think they are your, maybe like people you look up to in the church or mosque or anywhere. People are looking out to scam you. So you must do your due diligence. You must read about what aspect of farming you want to go into. A lot of research must be done. And not just online research, physical research. I have a friend who wants to go into agri, and she hasn't started, but what she does is she visits other farmers, finds out, some of their experience. Apart from reading online, she's taking her time to go to different farms, find out their pain points, the mistakes they've made, how to avoid them. Because a lot of times, it's not just what you read or what online course that you did that would help you, make profits from farming. It is the real physical experiences that people have had, and that is what you can use to ensure that whatever you're investing in, you're making a lot of money from it.
Wow.
So for it to be profitable, you have to both knowledge, you gain a lot of knowledge, you have to invest time, and then you must look for a mentor because that person has been there before.
Yeah.
A trusted, reliable mentor. You need somebody like that will tell you, okay, don't do this, avoid, somebody to call on when there's a little problem or challenge.
Yeah.
So you need a mentor as well. Yes.
Okay. So I'm sure that Helen she's found a mentor in
you. Yes, I have.
And on that note, I want to thank you for your time this morning, Tosi.
Thank you. Thank you.
Quite frankly, this has been most inspiring to all of us.
True.
And up next on our program,
thank you, Tosin.
Today with John and Helen, we'll be having our fitness expert, the very buff, high energy Eric. And right after his fitness segment, Fero Utomo and Omoye Ighodalo, the founder, Moini Beauty, will be talking about challenges young business owners face. Don't you go away.